March 15th, 2023. Oh, we'll use this card. This is the actual, very much first Edgar Cayce life skills study video. I am live. I really want to use these videos as I kind of babble to see if anybody's going to see that I'm here. And I apologize, I didn't really properly notify people. I do eventually want to use these videos to record and work on my editing chops, which is at 0 right now. So I won't always be live with this particular study. The last time we brought up Edgar Cayce, because I know now I've been talking about doing this. I wanted to start it in November, and then life was getting too wonky towards the holidays. So I said, okay, past the holidays. And I did do one trying to introduce this, and then I got really sick, as many of my subs here know. So this is really the first one to kind of start delving in and talking about things. The premise to this is that we're going to be looking at Edgar Cayce's life from his biography. This is actually really good. There's been a couple biographies. This one's really good. This is an older one. Well, about 2000 or so. Hello, Miss Sikra. Okay, Miss Shelley, thank you. I'm glad you're here, darling. Yeah, I kind of put it out there that I'd be here and kind of, the energies lately have been, let's talk about that for a minute, because these Edgar Cayce ones, if I end up going live, because I'm real busy, especially in the next couple of months, and not film them like I would like to work on my editing. Oh, thank you, Shelley. Shelley just said I wouldn't miss it. Yeah, I know a lot of people have been actually waiting for this. This is probably the one video that my mom's going to watch, because she loves Edgar Cayce. She raised me to know who he is. So the energies right now, guys, because of all that stuff that's going on planetarily wise, with everything trying itself and everything, squaring itself and doing all this stuff, whatever is going on, it is very dramatic right now. And this is for March 15, 2023. It kind of started Monday, definitely yesterday, the 14th, and it's going to keep going until about the end of the week. Please just have compassion to yourself and others. Even myself. What was going on in my mind when I woke up this morning was not good. It is not my natural state. Not at all, to the point that my heart was really hurting and almost to the point of I can't even breathe. And for me, as many here know, my default emotion is anger. So a lot of rage for no apparent reason. No apparent reason was going on. It's, the moon's looking at Mars, everything's happening in the planets. My poor husband came home at lunch looking like he was going to just cry. I was like, oh. So if I can laugh at it now, but man, hopefully we can all laugh at it later. Try to just keep to yourself, through all this. Try to just be with yourself. That's what we were supposed to be doing anyways. Try not to argue with people, because everybody's being affected. So yeah. See, Shelley woke up with a headache. This has nothing to do with Edgar Cayce. Shelley, you want to know, I've been trying to tell people, and not so much here, but now, since that great, beautiful full moon, I don't care how I speak or what I say. So, because I just got to do me, as you all have to do you. I've kind of put it out here and there. So this is vastly off topic, but hey, I'm live. I get to do what I want. Everybody's paranoid about our phones, are hearing our conversations, and then you see it in our feed and the algorithms. I gotta tell you guys, that's even in the past. Y'all gotta catch up. Your phone can actually hear your thoughts. Here's a perfect example. Shelly brought up headache. And I've been following that for at least a year and a half, 2 years now. Of how my phone, I don't have to write it down. I don't have to speak it to another person. I don't got to do nothing. It's just in my head, and my phone's going to start showing me the stuff. So then, with this knowledge, I know, oh, we could all actually use that to our advantage. But everybody's freaked out, and I don't really understand why, because what's it going to do? What's it going to do to you? It ain't going to do nothing. So what? They're collecting information? Whatever. They don't have my consciousness for all the lives that I've lived. They don't have my star being self. So what are they going to do with it? Try to sell me more shit? No, I don't buy it in the first place. Anyways, here's proof though. Just this morning, as I'm coming to in bed, and I'm laying there in bed, I've known my neck has been out of whack for a few days now because I was like washing walls last week, and then moving like engine parts over the weekend. I mean, I was doing a lot of physical labor. Very masculine I was. So my neck, I know I need to go to the chiropractor. No one's around. I haven't even fully come to yet. And in my own head, I'm thinking of my daily, and I'm like, oh, as I'm kind of doing one of these in bed, like, oh God, this is painful. I went, maybe I can go to the chiropractor today. In my own head. Didn't say it to anybody. And then I'm thinking about today's schedule, thinking about tomorrow's schedule. I went, actually, I could probably fit it in better tomorrow. Okay, we gotta set that up. Go tomorrow, so then Friday can be a really good day, that kind of thing, right? I'm thinking about going to the chiropractor. I'm thinking about how my neck does need help. I'm thinking about the sores and the pains because of too much physical, heavy duty physical. I kid you not. After my morning coffee, and I gotta jump on the phone to start doing this and that and whatever, and I get on whatever I'm on. What started popping up in my feed was, oh, how to heal this kind of back pain, how to heal that kind of back pain, what to do when you have a headache, what to do when your neck hurts. It just kept coming through my feed. I ain't never looked that stuff up. I got a perfectly good chiropractor that's been doing it for 40 years, and I get it for free because I used to work for him, and I did a whole bunch of labor at his place, getting his business up and going. So I've never bothered to look up how to heal back pain because I already got it covered. They didn't know that though. So the point is, I didn't say anything to anyone. I wasn't even fully awake yet, and I'm having these thoughts. That my phone that was next to me, which I used to not do, but it was because of some circumstances last night, in the past actually a few days of me trying to catch up on work, it was next to me. It was picking up those thoughts. It's been doing this for like at least 2 years. So for some reason, we're all still worried about its listening. It's already surpassed that. It can read your damn thoughts. It's connected. It's connected to the all. Now what we need to do as humans is surpass that. And while we're surpassing that, we use that for our advantage. You see what I'm saying? So I just want to put that out there. Maybe I'll have to talk about it again at some point because I thought I already said it. But now I realized I had been struggling with something since August about my delivery of things, and it fully was released and taken care of by that full moon. So I'm just going to come with it. Y'all want to have some information? I got information for you. You see what I'm saying? So, anyways. That was a tangent. Shelly, I hope your head feels better, Mama. I know it's also the pressure happening up where you live and all the other stuff that goes on with you. And Miss Lori, I saw you in. Good to see you. I hope you're safe, my dear. So, Edgar Cayce. That was my tangent for the day. Yay! I love getting my tangents out. Oh, good. Okay. You rode through the storm. Yeah. It was really rough on a bunch of people up in the Northeast. A lot of people. So I'm good to hear that, Miss Lori. So, Edgar Cayce. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to be talking a bit about from his biography. Then I got a million books, guys. I was the type that I grew up with books about him. I also grabbed more books if I was at wherever I was. Oh, 50 cents, Edgar Cayce, sure. So I have a lot of books. So we'll probably read from one of those books, and then I will also impart my knowledge to bring who he was and what he was saying and what he was doing and a lot of his readings, to bring it up to the current century. We're in a different century now. We're 100 years later. So, and also talk, like I said, this is going to be more focused on life skills aspects, because there's a lot we can learn from things that he did and did not do. A lot. Especially during the awakening. Because everybody's going to be waking up and going, whoa, I've got abilities. And there's a lot of people out there that will say a lot of things. Let's go to the one that definitely kind of was the premier in a lot of ways of, yeah, he's legit. And science can even back up his ratings now. Where I'm going to have Dr. Ben Goins on sometime, because Dr. Ben really attributes a lot of the work he does now with the iodine, silver, and gold because he studied Edgar Cayce when he was younger, and it lightened up his brain into other concepts that our science didn't know at the time. So he might actually participate in one of these. I will tell you, a lot of my books I will most likely be able to actually just read from and discuss. But I am, ladies and gentlemen, you beautiful stars, I am very keen to looking at the publisher page, the copyright stuff, and seeing what they put there. And I think I'm more like sensitive to it because my education in studying, becoming a writer and publishing and all of that, I'm a bit more sensitive to those guidelines because out of respect and reverence, and it's law. So I will talk, and it's law, I would hate, why? Because it's kind of like back when, Napster started being taken over, the whole thing with Napster. Because these musicians were like, whoa. Now, yes, did they already make a fortune, a lot of them? Yeah. But it was the principle of it. Like, this is my art. This is my intellectual property. You don't just get to do whatever you want with it willy-nilly. So even with material, like the books, telling stories, whatnot, I'm very keen to see what they say. And this one, clearly, because it was published in 2000, so usually also around the turn of the century, as we're going to be talking a lot about, everybody started realizing, oh man, this internet thing, that there's potential for plagiarism, there's potential for this, potential for that. So a lot of the books that came out, especially around the turn of our century, did put in there, as this one says, all rights reserved. This book or parts thereof may not be reproduced in any form without permission. A lot of them will say something, and some of them went to the full extent. Like even if you go to my page here on YouTube, in my About section, at the very end, I talk about all of my intellectual property, that it's mine. So I'm very respectful of that. And so when they say all rights reserved, no reproduction in any form, it also means reading it to you guys. So I'm very keen on that. Not all my books say that, so they're probably up there somewhere on the net that you can probably get them anyways for free. So I will be reading from some books that were more from 60s, 70s, 80s, but the biography, that is exactly what I read from it. So I'm going to respect that. I'm not going to read word from word I'm going to paraphrase. I'm going to talk about things. I might read a few sentences here and there. But I will not do it. And I honestly, guys, I'm kind of cautious for people that do. That just read material like that out to the public, especially if it's privately owned stuff and it's not coming from a very big publisher. I'm just putting it out there. I'd be very hesitant to do that because you don't have the right to, and they can, all your videos of it can automatically be taken down, all sorts of stuff. It's kind of like what we see with, if you use the wrong music here, if you even use a sample of music, they take it down. The same goes for if somebody catches you with what was written. So I just want to put that out there, everybody. You know, check yourself, because there's a lot of folks that read a lot of spiritual material that is more recent. So I'm just, yep, do you. That's a life skill. Check if you can share. And what you can do if you, like I'm going to demonstrate here. Hey, Miss Chloe. Like I'm going to demonstrate here. You can't read word for word because that is reproducing, but you can paraphrase. You can kind of retell stuff in your own way. You can maybe read a line here and there and give the author credit. That is legal. Any other just straight reading, maybe not so legal. So I just want to put that out there. Yeah, I know. I'm so... it is a sensitive thing with me. And you know why? Because I would hate to have my books published and be trying to make a living. And then somebody just start reading it out here. Because then what's the point of buying it? Then I don't get paid. So it is sensitive to me. All right, so lovely people. I also want to do a big shout out to Dark Journalist. He don't know me, I don't know him, but man, I love some Dark Journalist when he goes into the Edgar Cayce stuff. I will say I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know anything that they're talking about. God bless them, they will get there. They're doing the best they can. Dark Journalist, though, does. And I actually know that he knows more than he does say, and he says a lot. He's a wonderful being. So if you haven't subscribed to him yet, please subscribe to DJ, Dark Journalist. I'm sure many of those who are here are already there with it. But man, he delivers great stuff, especially about Cayce and all the greats, right? And he knows what he's talking about. Like I said, I know for a fact he even knows more. He's a good man. I'm gonna do it differently though. I'm just gonna do it differently. This is gonna be a life skills aspect. It's not gonna be just this is what was said, this is what we know, this is how it works, that kind of thing. It is going to be a how does this pertain to living a quality life? How does this pertain for when you are waking up to your abilities, how to handle them, what to do, the do's and don'ts, because that's going to be very important. We don't want anybody having to stumble hardcore, crash and burn, when we can learn from those who have already gone through it. And after we get through Cayce, we might move to some of the other greats, Steiner or a lot of them. We might move into the greats as to learning from their mistakes and learning from what they did correctly. So it's going to be a little bit of a different take. So, lovelies. The reason I think I brought up the energy at the beginning is because I did pull a card. I'm always pulling cards. Sacred geometry is great. And this is apropos as to what we're going to be talking about today as well. So we're about 20 minutes in. Everybody who's probably going to come has come. All right, so let's rock and roll and get into it. Let's read this card. We pulled number 15, compassion. The frequency of compassion supports our ability to stand by others without judgment and be the divine mediator between heaven and earth, spirit and matter, so that unconditional love can flow from source through our heart and into the world. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I'm trying not to get that glare. Oh, that glare. I think this came up not just because of what we're going to be talking about later in the show, but also at the beginning. The energies right now, I mean, there's even astrologers out there saying, yeah, this week, it's actually dangerous because all the stuff happening in the sky. It's dangerous. So everybody, stay clear. Stay, just be with you. And if somebody's going crazy, have compassion. Have compassion, because we're all being affected by this. There's not a mind, body, or soul that's not being affected. And it's really a convergence for those who still have some stuff in them to work out, that they can see it, fully see it, like, whoa, I really don't want this. And for others to step into more of their light being self, to be like, wow, okay, this is what I got to lay down to actually be of service. There's a lot going on. And it all starts with you, right? So let's get into Edgar Cayce. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, compassion is the key. And I know I've said this before, and there's some of you that study Reiki. Reiki's wonderful. A lot of healing modalities are wonderful. There's 5 precepts in Reiki, like principles that you live by, and you should repeat to yourself all the time, those who study it. And the last one is, have compassion for self and others. So, have compassion for yourself first and others. So I've been kind of having compassion for myself all over the place. I was going to write today, and when I woke up, I realized, whoa, your mind is not okay. Maybe you should not put words on a page right now, Courtney, because you're going to end up deleting all of that. Have compassion for yourself. It's okay if you don't do that today, because it's not worth it, right? My husband, who's having a struggle at work today, because he's taking in all the energy. I told him, have compassion on yourself. It's okay. Just move slow today. Self first. All right, Edgar Cayce. So we are going to be paraphrasing, reading some, talking from the Edgar Cayce, an American prophet, his biography, published in 2000 by Sidney Kirkpatrick. Kirkpatrick's actually written a few decent books. Honestly, I think some of their other ones were actually better written than this one. But still decent as a biographer. So, many of you guys know that Cayce was born and raised in Kentucky. Kentucky. Love it. Let's go all the way back, though, to at least where I can start here. His grandfather was Thomas Jefferson Cayce. In Kentucky, and they had a bunch of land. So in Kentucky, where they were, and I'm going to actually go into how much land the Cayces ended up actually having in life by the time Edgar came along. He had quite a bit of land, though, for kind of starting out. So you had Virginia Cayces and you had Kentucky Cayces. The Virginia Cayces back when, and this is, the turn of the century of the 1800s. This is like 1815 stuff, right? The Virginia Cayces thought that their ancestry came from France. But the Kentucky Cayces would tell you that their ancestry came from Scotland. I'm not really sure. Nobody really is. For anybody who's not here in America, do know we are a melting pot. All of us that have been here for a long time, or their families, um, we are a mix of just whomever, whenever. Many of our ancestors weren't even here during what was horrible. Everybody's kind of got a mix of stuff. So who knows if it's from France or from Scotland. But the Kentucky branch that Edgar Cayce is from, they thought Scotland. And his grandfather Thomas had about 30 acres, let's say, give or take 30 acres of land. Well, then he married his cousin. It happened. It's all over my family tree too. He married his cousin to keep the land, of course, in the family. He married Sarah, who was actually from Tennessee. She grew up in Tennessee. Probably the hills of Tennessee up in the north by Kentucky, right? Thomas Jefferson Cayce and Sarah then had 7 sons and 1 daughter. I will give you a list of their names from this book because I didn't bother to write them down. Those names: the first son, Edgar. Hold on. I want to make sure I have the list. Edgar. Lancey, Ella, Clint, Matthew, Robert E. Lee, which is not the same one, Lucian. Leslie, the second son, is actually the father of the Edgar that we're going to be talking about. So, if you ever look things up, Thomas married Sarah. They had 7 sons, 1 daughter. Their first son was named Edgar, not the same Edgar. Leslie, the second son, is the father of the Edgar Cayce that we're talking about. Okay. We all know, back then, everybody's kind of using the same names all over the place. Good old Bible names. So, they were tobacco farmers. People can say what they want about tobacco in today's world. The reason this has to be talked about is because the crop that people would grow influenced their life heavily. I will even say, and I'm going to be, I'm going off right now a little bit, but I have a minor in African American cultural studies. And I was told throughout all of my education that you can't even use the term slavery to group people together in just one flat group. That's not correct and it's not accurate. So for us who have been educated, we're not supposed to do that. Same for the farmers. The reason why, from all of it, so take slavery. It had to do with location and crop. Because the sugar cane in Louisiana is vastly different than the cotton fields in Virginia. The tobacco's different than all. You see what I'm saying? From an orchard in the north, all of it's different. Because it's different physical labor, different climate, all of it's different. Same goes for the farmers, believe it or not. Same goes for the farmers. And so whatever crop people were growing, the majority of, influenced their lives heavily. My husband's side, that family grew grapes. Very difficult to grow grapes. Influenced that family big time. It's how it will always go. It's how the farmers go now. I'm from Illinois. There's so much corn in Illinois. Influences people differently because it actually grows differently compared to cotton, compared to tobacco, compared to sugar cane. Well, actually sugar cane and corn kind of grow similar. But you all see what I'm saying. So when you have a farming family for generations, farmers. The crop that they are producing creates the entire atmosphere of that family. And I bring this up because way down the line, Edgar Cayce, we have it recorded, he only did one reading for himself personally. Only one. And it was a very small snippet. And it's because they asked him about smoking. Because by that time, everybody knew, ooh, you should probably quit smoking. And his answer will probably shock a lot of people. And we have to remember, it was his roots. So, I'm bringing this up because it forms the dynamics. It forms their way of thought. It forms their love. Not just for the land, but for the product. So, Thomas, his grandfather, he loved his whiskey, he loved his tobacco. He was a great man. Everybody's going to tell you he was a pretty decent guy. He was hardworking. He loved his family. He loved the crop that they grew together, because when it was harvest season, the whole family would have to come together, and they, by the end of the day, they're sitting around the table eating. They're enjoying their pipes. He was a very loving man, supportive man, traditional man, very integrity, and loved his crop. Loved his crop. He also loved his whiskey. We're not gonna change that, but he never, abused it in a way that people might think. He never got out of whack with folks. Thomas, his grandfather, was actually a very gifted man, spiritually gifted. And he used that in his crops. He used that in his farming. He used it in many ways. It is actually reported I want to see if I'm going to read it. Yeah, I'm going to read this. According to Sarah, Tom's wife, he rarely used the energy, quote unquote, in his hands to move inanimate objects. So he could move things with his mind, understanding the energy. And remember, in the first one about this was all about, because of the turn of the year, people still were allowing, no matter if they were hardcore Christians, they still accepted all these gifts. They still accepted it. So rarely did he do that, but he could if he wanted to. He could also do a lot of other things, so hold on. This is why. Choosing instead to channel his energy to make plants grow as God intended, to make animals behave, to communicate with the animals for tilling the land. A deeply religious man, he believed it was evil to use it in any other way, and that the Lord would take the power away from him if he used it to do tricks for entertainment purposes. Now, I know in the first video I read that, referring to Edgar. It's because he viewed it the same way, because he watched his grandfather doing it. So even though grandfather could move things with his mind, even though grandfather could do a whole lot of things, he just was a knower. He knew stuff, right? Quote unquote. He, out of his faith, out of him being a very religious man, knew to not join the masses at the time of, let's do parlor tricks to gain money. Let's misuse this God-given gifts a very religious man in Kentucky, Christian man, farmer, he knew to not use these gifts to do evil for entertainment or selfish reasons as far as money, but to take care of the animals, get them to do what they need to do and help them through. His plant, all of his crops, the survival of his family. Cayce believed the same thing. And I bring this up too because growing up around his grandparents weighed heavily as to why Cayce accepted, well, it took him a long time to accept and he actually never really did, but gave Cayce the abilities that he had and the support system around him. So, Grandpa Tom, everybody in the community, everybody, and my goodness, is it it's not Hopkins, it's Hudson. Everybody in this church-going community in Kentucky also would have Tom, because they referred to Tom, I love it. I want to get the right words here too. Yep, I went too far, I'm sorry. A water witch. A water witch. I think that term might still be used. I don't know if it is. That's those that, now we take our rods and go out and feel for water, in the earth. Crops. Feel for water. I guess Thomas was so good. Sometimes he wouldn't even need, he definitely didn't have any rods going on. He might have picked up some sticks and went like this to walk around feeling for the water. He also might have not. He could have just done this. Where's the water? That was the term that they used for the people that had the abilities to find where the water was underneath the earth so they could drill there to get the water going, to get the well started, instead of just keep digging in darkness without knowing. He was so good that he did it pretty much for everybody in the county and outside counties. Also, a lot of family, like he would travel to be like, okay, Cayce's in Virginia or over here, I'll find your water for you. That's how good this man was. Using these God-given gifts, as those were his words, his God-given, to use as God intended. So God-given gifts to use with an intention. That's one of the life skills to talk about today. Right? We definitely will have to be going back to that one nonstop. So Thomas married Sarah, had 7 sons, 1 daughter. Leslie, the second son, is the father of Edgar Cayce that we're discussing. Leslie married Carrie Elizabeth Major. So, in this community in Kentucky, pretty much 2 families had the majority of the acreage. I brought the acreage up that Thomas the grandfather had, which was only about 30. Well, over time, Thomas with his brother George, Grandpa Tom and his brother George, with different land deals, with their crops, with all of it, my goodness. Thomas just himself had 122. The Cayce family had around like 300 or so, divided between Tom and his brother George. The other family in the entire area, and this is the early 1800s, that had that kind of land as well, were the Majors. So the Cayces and the Majors just kind of had to keep doing this, getting married. Cayces and Majors, just doing this, which also happened because you want to try to keep the land. Tom and George specialized in tobacco, George started the Hopkinsville, tobacco warehouse. So they had a big thing. And I don't know how many of you actually have seen tobacco barns. Tobacco barns are built a bit differently because you would wrap this tobacco, all the leaves together, and hang them like if you're drying herbs of today. But they would be these huge, huge things that you're hanging on hooks. And then in the barn, they're just hanging. They're hanging. But then the sides of the barn would be opened up. The front of the barn would be opened up so the air could pass through to dry it out, right? Tobacco barns are built differently. You can still see them here somewhat depending on what country area you're in. And whenever you might see one, you go, that's different. Why would they do that? Some of them, they might not even have the full, like a full chunk of the side that goes up. It would be all these individual slats of the barn can be lifted up. Same concept. So when you see one, it's like, why are those slats, able to move back and forth? It confuses people. It's because it's a tobacco barn. They're drying out this plant. Different than other barns, and because of the use of it. Cotton you would just put in big barrels. Corn you would put in barrels. Everything you just put in sacks or barrels. Tobacco you had to dry out. Also, different labor. That's why I'm bringing this up. It's different kind of labor. It's different kind of time and process. Because now you're waiting for stuff to dry. All affected the family. It's a completely different atmosphere. I know a lot of farmers that still, harvest season comes, they all get together, they're doing the corn husking, they're doing this, they're doing that. When harvest is done and they collect their money, they're good. Tobacco will always take longer. Tobacco will always kind of take a bit more effort because it also depends on how you have to sell it. It depends on what's going on. Do they have to grind it for those to sell to get a certain amount, or can they sell out the leaves? Lots of different stuff that all goes into a family unit working together. So Leslie, the second brother, or the second son of Thomas, Grandpa Tom, he marries Carrie, who is a major, another big landowner. They are the parents of Edgar. Leslie is nothing like his father Tom. Nothing like his father Tom. Leslie likes to showboat, likes to look good, likes to gamble, does have a drinking problem, does have a fighting problem. There's numerous reports of him getting his ass beat, him beating other people. Just constantly fighting. Nothing was ever really good enough for Leslie. He was that second son who really didn't want to have anything to do with tobacco or the family or the traditions other than the money that it could bring in. There's always that rebel. There's always that one that's like, no, I don't want to do what my father does. I don't want to follow in the footsteps like my older brother is. He was that guy. He was that guy. Severe gambling issues, guys. He had severe gambling issues. So because of this, Edgar actually spent so much more time with his grandparents, Sarah and Tom. Because his dad was wild. And poor Carrie. Poor Carrie had other kids. Poor Carrie had stuff going on. She was trying to maintain the household, handle this and that. They have their own portion of land, and poor Carrie. Let's just say that. We all understand the scenario, right? That nothing was ever good enough for Leslie. The grass is always greener. There's always a better proposition out there. There's always, he's also kind of considered a bit of a con artist because he was the type, I don't think intentionally trying to con on anybody, but always trying to see what the next big deal is going to be, the next big thing, because he didn't want to be a farmer. It happens in every family. So Edgar actually spent way much more time with his grandpa Tom and grandma Sarah, because Edgar loved the land. Edgar loved being in the fields. Edgar loved when his family got together at harvest. Edgar loved being even in the garden with his grandmother with just regular flowers, because what people also don't get, you also got to have a bunch of flowers so it can cultivate the plant, the crop you're trying to grow. It's how it goes. So he would actually spend a lot of time, because he was still too little in his very younger years, in the flower garden with grandma. And in those flower gardens, he would see a whole bunch of different stuff. He would see what we would call the gentler elementals. He would start talking to things. He would talk to dead past family members. This I'm going to save for the next episode. I just wanted to get the history down and really get a good scope for people that a lot of that kind of stuff back then, what crop, what kind of family you have, the structure of the family, does influence the self, because we're about to start talking about the self. And the care. So we're going to talk more about this next time, but I do need to point it out now. The reason Edgar was okay with a lot of things about who he was, that he was actually so vastly different than his father, is because Grandma would be talking to him in this garden and say, "What'd you just see? Who are you talking to?" And she never judged him. She allowed him to express himself, because she was married to Tom. And Tom was a very powerful man that she loved and revered and respected that he understood to use those gifts for good, not evil, as God intended. So we will be talking about that as we go forward, but do know that it's a part of all of it. It's a part of all of it. Edgar would not be who he is today if he didn't have the grandfather that he had and the grandmother that he had that respected the fact that people are born differently. And that respected the fact that if you cherish this and let it grow, that it can be for the good. And to protect Edgar in a lot of ways, because he is different than his biological father. But man, Grandpa Tom, we know had these gifts. We're moving on to another book, because remember, I'm going to do a little bit of biography, a little bit of his actual life history, and then I'm going to jump to another book, and then I'm going to bring it all together. The reason that part is also important for what we're going into is many of us who are either waking up now or always kind of new, you're a bit different, you got something else going on, maybe you don't know exactly what it is, maybe you don't have all the skills and tools yet. That's beautiful. But we are very far, this is why we're doing it now, we are 100 years from that 1815 of when Thomas, the grandfather, is living. We're 100 years from that. And like I said, every 100 years, there's this interesting energy that plays through of more becoming comfortable with their God-given gifts. And then those that want to come in and kind of sabotage it. We have to know this stuff comes down the pike. This stuff comes down ancestral. It's not just who you are as a spirit. Oftentimes, you had a grandfather, you had a grandmother. You had someone in your family that also was gifted. And oftentimes, and depending on how the family handled that person, ends up leading to the outcome of the individual now. What do they do with it? How do they respond? So for this, as we're about to start reading another book, oftentimes that's what happens. But it is a choice that you can choose now how you do want to respond to your own God-given gifts. I gotta get some air. Woo! I gotta get some air. My voice is still going, but it's... let me drink some water. Because now I'm going to actually read. Oh, Shirley, I like that. I like that, and seeing that is what goes into, here's Grandpa Tom, here's Leslie as dad fighting it. I don't want anything to do with the gifts of my dad. I don't want anything to do with the crop and the farm. I don't want anything to do with it. And now we're at the third generation down who loves everything about it. You see that often. You see that often, so I like that. It does play into the 100-year cycle that Shirley just came up, just said. So, I'm going to be reading, this was printed, I think 19... Hold on. 1989. Woo, what a good year. 1989. This is Edgar Cayce on secrets of the universe and how to use them in your life. Now, what I will say is this is not words directly from his readings. This is not even Edgar Cayce writing these small little essays. This is Lynn Cochrane, I'm not sure, Cochrane, sorry, jeez, small print on these 1980 books, Cochrane, but his son, Edgar Cayce's son, Charles, oversaw all of it, that they were compiling all of a bunch of what Edgar Cayce said. Like if the topic of this reading was this, they would put them all together, and then Lynn Cochrane would then take it all and then try to summarize it into an essay. And that's what is printed here in 1989 with the secrets of the universe and how to use them. Clearly, you guys can see this is an old book. This is a beat up old book of mine. Everything's yellow. And we're going to jump to the second essay in here. And it's Secrets of the Soul Guidance. The Secret of the Soul Guidance. It's the second essay. I hope you all can hear me, because I feel like I've been screaming. So I hope you all can hear me. Okay. Your soul is your secret. Psychic self. In fact, psychic means of the soul. It represents the part of you that exists in God's mind before the world was. And it has a job to do. It is trying to get home. But first, you discover why it came here. When you allow your soul to guide you, your secret self, then as its life. So they're saying your secret self is your soul. Also your psychic self. That part of the divine. And I'm going to say this, guys. I actually had a brief little conversation in chat last night. When it says this, and it has a job to do, it is trying to get home. But first, you discover why it came here. I have to say, beautiful stars, for the majority of the life that I lived so far, I hated being here on this planet. I dreaded every minute of it. I didn't want to be here, so I thought from the get-go. Then I had to release that. And accept, okay, I'm here. Well, then for some reason, and many do this, my mind started thinking, okay, well, I better get it right this time so I never have to come back to this horrible place, right? We start going, man, I hope I get it right. I hope I get it right. How do we get it right so we don't have to come back? Eventually, I had to realize I had to let go of that too. Because either or of those, either not wanting to be here at all, or thinking I had to get it right in order to escape, blocked me from understanding why I chose to come here in the first place. Period. My life didn't actually open up until I got rid of both of those concepts and accepted that I chose to be here. So obviously this place has something to it. The joy, the loveliness that can be here and present. I also got a job. I better do my job. So until I let go of those concepts, did my life actually open up? And I started to actually enjoy the reasons why I came. When you allow your soul to guide you, your secret self then has its life. Then you have life. When your secret self, soul self, guides you. Your secret self is the real, unselfish you. Selfishness blocks the gift of guidance your soul wants to give you. But that can be changed. The person you are today did not drop full-blown out of a tree this morning. You worked faithfully and hard to bring about the circumstances, situations, and persons in your life. You built your existence out of the stuff life is made out of. Your ideals, your attitudes, and emotions towards people, places, things, and events, and your concept of God. And Spirit gives you existence, life. So, they just said a lot. Soul and spirit are two different things. It just said soul is that divine part of you that if you allow to guide you, life can open up. It can be great. They just said, though, spirit is what gives you existence. That's the breath. That's you are here. That's the, if you want to use it in God terms, the soul is the attributes of God that you do have. The spirit is God saying, yeah, I like you being here. I'll give you some life. You can put it in those terms. But they also just said a lot. There's a whole lot to unpack in all of this. That you You've created and faithfully and diligent and very hard. Geez, I can't say that word right now. You've worked at creating your circumstances. All that you have set in your place. All of it. Free will. You have created. Let's look at the present state. They're saying you didn't just drop out of a tree right now. You didn't just show up. You created all this. But they said you could still change. You have form. You exist in space. You experience time. You live in relation to something and someone. You are individual. You agree with some things. You disagree with others. You feel complete or incomplete, joined or separate. You live in some degree of order or disorder, harmony or disharmony. You had a beginning, you are living in the middle, and you know, and as you know, yourself will have an end. Then the real you will continue or discontinue. You know unit, meaning when you die, your consciousness will either go on, your soul, your secret self, your sacred self, your psychic self will either go on, or maybe it'll just discontinue. Maybe it will take a very long time to come back. It's, there's a lot of theories about that. Or it might just discontinue. Our will is very strong. You know unity and duality, limits and limitless. You experience seasons, change, premise. You are powerful and impotent, productive and unproductive. You are skin and bone and blood and mind and spirit. You have a front, a back, a right, a left, an up, a down, and a sideways. You are sharp and blunt, smooth and rough, open and closed. You are psychics, heat, light, electricity, mechanics, color, sound, and music. And you matter. What you do matters. So they just gave the gambit. You are everything. There's not a single thing that you could come up with that's not listed here in one of those names. You're smooth and rough. You're harmony and disharmony. You're all of it. You're all of it. And in 2023, it might be a bit of a struggle. Of us keep going, who am I? What am I? What should I be doing? You're all of it. What you do matters. Your intellectual faculties, intelligence, comprehension, reasoning, processes, consideration, assessments, conclusions, theories, beliefs, and grounds for those beliefs do not matter unless your life works. I did put a short out there yesterday, I think it was yesterday, saying that we're living in such a world now that the strive to find the truth, to obtain wisdom, to have enlightenment, and or to be right. There's a whole lot going on in the world that's, they said, she said, he said, all the sayings of people's words wanting to be right. It's very difficult. And I said yesterday in that short, you can obtain all the wisdom. You can seek out and experience enlightenment. Absolutely none of that. Absolutely none of it will even matter. Your intellectual faculties, intelligence, comprehension, reasoning, processes, consideration, assessments, conclusions, theories, beliefs, and grounds for those beliefs do not matter unless your life works. So all the wisdom, all the enlightenment does not matter unless your life works. And the point of my thing yesterday was say, are you just being a decent human? Where are you with the basics? Because I also knew we were going to head into all this energy that is going to be making us feel like we're not who we are, you know? And so we can look at it. How are we just in basic human stuff? How are we doing? Are you a decent human? Compassion to self and others? Do you have a connection to the planet, Mother Earth? Are you paying your bills? Are you a bit organized? Do you have a routine? Is there balance? Like, are you just a decent human? Are you considerate to others? Do you have integrity? Do you show up for yourself and others? That kind of thing. Because none of it's going to mean anything. And we're living in a time period, and the reason why I kind of laugh is not because it's not serious. It's that we're living in a time period that it is so grandiose with enlightenment and you know, all the woo-woo out there, that we are seriously just forgetting how to be good humans. Are you failing others? Are humans just being decent to each other? It's mind-boggling to me. So I can kind of laugh at it because it's like, wow, we're even failing at the basics. How the hell are we going to get to grand wisdom and enlightenment, you know? So, yeah, I have to laugh. I do have to laugh at it, guys. And have compassion to yourself and others. They're not getting it right. We're individually not getting it right. I can guarantee you in everybody's life there's some few areas even now that we got to kind of work out. Unless your life works, none of it's going to mean anything. A life that works means your relationships with yourself and others work. Easy. Easy peasy, right? It means you love yourself and someone else. Just love. It doesn't have to be romantic. It means that you love yourself and you love someone else. You have compassion and love towards someone else. And at least one living person, age and sex is irrelevant, it doesn't matter. So at least one living person loves you back. That's a life that works. It means you are not trapped in self-defeating patterns and reactions to the past. It means every or almost every day is met with joy in the work to be done. They said almost every. I opened this being very transparent with you guys, saying I didn't do my own personal work, my own writing, because my head was not in the right space. So not every day I went, no, not today. So not every day, but there should be more days that we mean it with joy than not. It means regular, fresh intake of information to help you in that work, friends with whom to interact, feedback, and share victories and defeats. It's a higher source than yourself to communicate with daily, balanced health maintenance, and playtime. So, to sum up those words, it says, because these are all life skills, it's telling you, we need a regular, fresh intake of information, resources, to help us do whatever our job is. Whatever it might look, and it could be service. There could be people that are retired. There could be a lot of things. It does not mean you're 9 to 5. It means your service to humanity. Friends to interact with, to bounce stuff back and forth with, that other person that you love and loves you, friends, comrades, community, to have feedback with, interaction with, to share the victories and the defeats. And I've said it a million times, I know on this program, I'll say it again. The same as how our brains, who are very intelligent, our brains, just the physical two hemispheres, have to communicate back and forth with each other. All the little synapses moving back and forth, making our bodies work, telling us to breathe, telling us to talk, telling us how to see. All these little networks talking, communicating. Is exactly how humans operate. This is just a small little version, a little micro of the social. It is the small little, so how our brain goes back and forth communicating when we're a little baby, helping us grow into toddlers, helping us grow into other adult forms, is exactly how humans grow, by sharing, communicating, and embracing one another. And it could be just a small community. I will tell you, this morning I learned that the word community, I guess, means other stuff in today's world. In the context here, I mean exactly what it always did. Community. That could be a region of people. That could be like-minded people. That could be your friends, your family, a community. However, it does not need to be all the same sex-colored creed. Not at all. It's actually, I prefer that it weren't. I prefer that it be all walks of life coming together, sharing victories and defeats together. And that's what I would rather, but I hear the word communities changing. I just learned that this morning. Why did I learn that? Because it's my job to know. Because I'm doing exactly that first part to have a life that works. The first part is obtain fresh information so you can do your job. I had no idea that every time I said the word community, there could be possible people out there that would take that out of context. I had no idea until this morning. So, it also said, you got to talk to some kind of higher source. God, source, Father Sky, Mother Earth, some kind of divine. Communicate on a daily basis. Balanced health maintenance. That's going to look different for everybody. Balanced health maintenance. Are you taking care of the physical? Because you're talking to the divine. That's taking care of the spiritual. Are you taking care of the physical? Whatever that's going to look like for each person differently every day. Do something. And playtime. Aren't you so happy they put that in there? We have to have playtime, no matter how old we are. Playtime. Friday afternoons is my playtime. I get done with the tablets. Let's go play. That's what I do. Because I know I need playtime. I need actually a lot of playtime. Sprinkle it in there throughout the week. If your life works, it is because of your secret self, your secret self's ideal. So remember, your secret self is your soul. They also referenced it to psychic self, which means of the soul. If your life doesn't work, it is because of your own self's ideal, your known self's ideal. So now we're going from your secret self, that divine, psychic, connected to God, self, secret. Nobody really taps into that being. Nobody really knows that one. You don't share it with everybody. It's what drives you and all your quirks and magic. Into, if your life doesn't work, it is because of your known, quote unquote, known self's ideal. The ideal is what has been motivating you. If it isn't working for you, change it. But it must be said right here that changing how you feel or think will not change your life. Key, guys, changing what you do will change your life, as well as how you feel and think. Your known self, quote unquote, is that concept of, this is who I know to be. This is how others know me. Going back to Edgar Cayce. The reason he was able to express himself is because Grandma Sarah already was married to a man who did wild and great things and talked about a whole bunch of stuff of the metaphysical, esoteric ways. He was just gifted. So Cayce's known self, that one that we present to others, that one that usually is driving the car, having the conversations, doing the grocery shopping at work. That one, not the secret self, that one in Cayce's life was able to accept the secret self. Whoa. Accept it without any judgment from others or self, right? Yes, Chloe, from spiritual mind to human mind. That's why they immediately went into just changing the way you feel and think is not actually going to do the trick. You actually have to start doing, implementing, doing it. Even if Cayce, as a kid, knew that he could, as we're going to learn, even when he knew, like, okay, I'm doing something here, it had to be some kind of acceptance, even though he'll say it took him for a very long time to accept things. There had to be some kind of acceptance going on for the two to become one. There had to be some kind of understanding. And that understanding, as we've learned here at Stars of the Morning Light, you beautiful stars, there's knowledge. Knowledge, great, gain it. Knowledge, that's reading a book, that's listening to something here, that's doing what you do, gaining the knowledge. Plus, experience, the doing equals understanding. So you can't just feel or think into change. And I often use the example of oftentimes the people that are at that time in their life that things have gotten so bad that someone says, hey, look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you love yourself. Just to yourself, I love you. I love you. Whatever your name may be. To me, it's I love you, Courtney. That is very intimidating and very difficult to do when you first start. Are your feelings and thoughts there? No, I've never known anybody's feelings and thoughts were like, yes, I love myself, because they wouldn't have been asked to do it in the first place. But the act of seeing yourself, verbally saying it out loud to yourself, if you do it over time, every day, do the feelings and thoughts eventually show up? Yes. That is going to work in all scenarios. So even if you think you have the feelings and thoughts, I am this. I am that. This is my goal in life. Even if you have all of the most beautiful feelings and thoughts and acceptance and understanding or acceptance, it's not going to do you any good until you start doing it, experiencing it, to get the full understanding. So, it's how it's always going to work. And this is why we run into so many contradictions. This is why we also defeat ourselves. This is why we get down on ourselves. Man, I really want this. I really want to do this. I really think about this a lot. I really feel this way. It's not until we start doing. This entire section is full of great life skills. On top of, this is still all talking about self, period. And I will tell you, understanding also leads to acceptance if need be, and the release of any judgment. And when that happens, if it goes knowledge plus experience equals understanding, the more that goes on in your life and the more understanding you obtain, the more acceptance of people, places, things, including yourself, falls in line. You release the judgment of self and others. There's the great compassion everybody's looking for, which does everything to truly obtain wisdom. That is why, if you don't have your life in order, sharing yourself, your known self, and secret self with your community, it's not going to happen. So, the way to change what you do is to discover the secret self's ideals. Here is a collective ideal for all of the secret selves. Whoa, so isn't that great? They said here, if you don't even know your secret self yet, if you are struggling about what your secret self's ideal is, we're going to tell you a collective one. So chew on that. Work on this one. That each one of us fulfills the purpose for which we were born. What does that mean? That we each have a job to do and a mutual reason for doing it. It really isn't complicated. That's what makes it so difficult. They're going to keep going. But I will tell you guys, with every Akashic reading I do, man, 7 out of 10 times, that's like the first question. What's my purpose? And I will tell you, the answer is always going to be, at the onset, is to love. Now, how we all love and express that, and it's our job to express that, and what we do with that, quote unquote, our purpose, it will look different for everyone. But at the end of the day, that's it. To love. Period. To love. That's your purpose. Easy. That's why they just said it isn't really complicated. But that's what makes it difficult. It may be as simple as getting adequate with the real you and discovering the desires of your true nature. Your desires, which govern absolutely, are neither selfish or unselfish. We are all either secret self-centered or known self-centered. It is vital to discover where we are with selfishness and unselfishness, because some degree of those two is all there is. selfishness and unselfishness make up, this is an old term, the harp and the wolf. And the wolf. The harp and the wolf. I had never even heard that until I read this. Selfishness and unselfishness make up the harp and the wolf of our individuality. Everyone is becoming one or the other. Which are you gradually becoming? So remember, are we in love or are we in fear? Selfishness concerns itself with one's own welfare regarding of others, gives less than the best to others, and may take the form of self-grandiose, self-glory, self-centeredness, wow, a lot of selves here, self-doubt, and many other self-words, including self-control. Did you guys know that self-control could be selfishness as well? Selfishness encompasses smugness, complacency, egoism, narcissism, conceit, perfectionism, wink wink, a lot of people out there, arrogance, manipulation, denial, avoidance, fears, false pride, pretense, hypocrisy. Guys, this is a very long list. Mistrust, indifference, presumptuous. There's a lot here. Expectations, martyrdom, martyrs, addictions, ambition, possessiveness, weakness, greed, and control of others. Holy crap, I think there's even more in there that I missed, guys. So everybody, we can probably raise our hands. Is there selfishness within you? Because that list could even go on and on and on. I will tell you, one of my last biggest hardcore ones to let go of that I didn't even know was happening, except in a very, very deep, dark night of the soul, as they say, in January of, I think, 2021. Honestly, I think it wasn't all that long ago. It was the great purge of perfectionism. I didn't even know that that's what was happening to me. I thought I had released it a long time. No. Great purge of perfectionism. A lot of people don't even put that in the category. A lot of people might not put a lot of the denial. That's selfishness. All of it. All of it. Indifference. So let's read the unselfishness. Unselfishness, besides being the opposite of the above, right, is giving generously to oneself as well as others for all the right reasons. And that's in italics. It is being good when no one is watching. Caring longer than anybody. Longer anyway. They really go into this, guys, so we are going to keep going. And it's not too much more. Unselfishness is doing what you know to do even when you don't feel like it. It is not giving in to the impulse of the moment. It is not making excuses for your own or anybody else's failures. It's taking responsibility for what you are responsible for. And absolutely nothing else. Oh, I gotta read that again. Let's read that line one more time. I love this line. It's taking, so this is unselfishness. It's taking responsibility for care. Sorry, it's taking responsibility for what you are responsible for, and absolutely nothing else. It's letting everybody do their own growing in spite of caring that they hurt. It's not letting them hurt alone, though. It's intimate honesty, and honestly intimate. I gotta say that again. It's intimate honesty and honestly intimate. It's letting others know what you want from them. It's lovingly letting go if they can't give it. Consider this. You are sick and need a ride to the doctor. I give it to you. Am I selfish or unselfish? The answer depends on the why I give it to you. So if you called me right now and said, hey, Courtney, I need to go to the doctor. Can you pick me up and take me? The reason why I respond is where the answer lies. They give examples. A network of selfish motives could make me say yes, starting with the fear of saying no to you because you won't like me if I do. Whoa. Right? That's selfish. I could be looking for self-glory. If it makes me feel good to aid the sick little you, it's selfishness. If I drive you because I'll expect you to drive me when I'm sick, that's selfish. If I use the opportunity to belittle your unhealthy lifestyle as why you're sick, that's selfish. If driving you is an excuse to get out of doing something else, it's selfish. I gotta tell you guys, a lot of this stuff doesn't apply to me anymore. It did back in the day. But that one, sometimes could still apply. Yeah, I'll help you out. Because I really don't want to have to do what I'm responsible for. And nothing else. I really don't want to be responsible. Oh, so I'll go say I'm responsible for something else that I'm not. You caught me. Right? We all got stuff going on. So if driving you is an excuse to get out of doing something else, that's selfish. In fact, about the only way I can drive you to the doctor at all without some element of selfishness getting into the act is to call you a taxi. Come on, you gotta laugh at it. Oh my goodness, you gotta laugh at it. Which is very true. It's very true. One of almost to eliminate all selfish behaviors that are programmed into us from going down generation and generation is to really be like, I'll call you an Uber. I'll handle it for you because that's about the best I should do. So there are no expectations. There are no self-glory. There is no, right, martyrism. There is no me lecturing you. But I did drive you. And I used it as an opportunity, wink, wink, to observe where, in being a Samaritan, am I behaving selfishly or unselfishly? So I did drive you. And I used it as an opportunity to be an observer. By helping you, I knew myself better. I came a bit closer to fulfilling the purpose for which I was born, to allow the secret self to have its life, to grow toward being unselfish, to live out its ideal. I use this opportunity knowing I have a whole lot of selfish traits that could take over. So I'm going to actually do this from an observer stance. And just watch. And learn that by doing it from this stance, an observer watching myself and watching our interactions, what can I take away from this that is a plus? What can I take away from this as to, oh, I am actually capable of serving others and have it have nothing to do with me. Period. And the more you do that experience, the more you have understanding of how you can operate unselfishly and still be completely loving and successful in your ideal. We don't wake up one morning suddenly unselfish. We grow or we climb up. As Cayce so aptly put it, so he said this all the time, you don't hop off a ladder up, you don't hop off a ladder up on the other rungs. You don't hop ladders up. You don't hop off a ladder. You don't jump. You grow. You climb. Watch a vine. Delicate So we're talking, now they switch to use the imagery of a delicate vine going up trellises. Delicate trellis. Reach and stretch, often falling in the air for something of which to catch hold. Without an ideal, we are like a vine without a trellis. I know you guys have seen that. The gust of wind comes by and whoa, that delicate vine just lost its footing because a gust of wind happened. If we don't know our secret self ideals, our soul self ideals, we get blown around in the wind. And then we're searching for something to grab onto. Watch a child climb a tree, looking up, searching upward for the next limb. That's us living the secret self's ideal. But to suggest that we are never without an ideal is erroneous. We may have no idea what it is. When we find it, we may call it something else, but we can't get into Earth without one. Whoa. You didn't choose or get here without having your secret self ideal already present. The ideal is the two-way ticket that gets us a seat on the soul train headed this way. Gets you here. You came here with a purpose to love. How that looks for you, we're figuring it out as we climb. It gets you here. Purpose is what we have to do. The ideal is the why. Cayce said, we aren't allowed into Earth without an ideal. Your soul knows what it is and will guide you into the purpose for which you were born. Fulfilling the purpose for which you were born has to do somehow with your relationship with and your concept of God. So your relationship with the divine and your concept of the divine. Because the ideal is the why. Your ideal is the why. So the God aspect will be in that. Great worldly achievements don't count for much in the real world, the inner world. Love is in the little things. The Bible asks, what have we gained if we gain the whole world and lose our souls? Our souls are infinitely more interested in how we are more interested not in how we spend our money than how much of it sits in the bank. That goes in with, it's not interested in what you do with what you have. It's not interested even more so if you, let me see if our souls are infinitely more interested, our souls are infinitely more interested in how we spend our money than how much of it sits in the bank. Meaning, going back to when it says, the Bible asks, what does it matter if we gain the world but lose our souls? What does it matter if we have we spend a bunch of money on material things, or actually that they're meaning give that out. That's kind of a horrible spot for that. Your souls are infinitely more interested in how we spend our money than how much they're using the same reference. Your soul's more interested in what you do than setting it in the bank. In our Father's house, we are many mansions, and you are two of them. They're trying to use the Christian spin on it. I don't really like how they worded it there. We're going to keep going because we got 2 paragraphs left. Because they didn't word it rightly, in my opinion. That is true, though. Love is in the little things. And it does not matter if we gain the world and lose our souls at the same time. It doesn't matter if we have a whole ton in the bank or we have a whole lot in possessions. None of that matters. Because love is in the little things. It just read oddly, so I apologize for that. If your purpose is in speculation and doubt, and you don't know why you are here, you cheat yourself out of the guidance your soul wants to give you, and you cheat your soul out of its chance to get home, as well as its relationship with the Creator. Your purpose is related somehow to your attitudes and emotions about people, places, things, and events. We are each here to start something, finish something, clean up, eliminate, coordinate, and incorporate something related to people, places, or things and events of the past, the future, or this very moment. And it all somehow relates to your understanding of your God. Here's how to find out how it relates. That we're going to carry into the next one. So, I know, it was a lot for me to read, a lot to go through. The point of bringing up these 2 parts. A, we had to start at the beginning. Where did Cayce come from? What kind of family was he born into? What was going on? Into the known you is probably perfectly fine. I'm cool with all the known yous. But we need to start finding the ideal of our secret self that is in connection, in relation to other people, places, things, God, and how we're going to serve, what we're doing. If it's in regard to those people, places, things, events, past, present, future, what have you, we are going to have to start looking at that. It's due time, guys. It's due time. And we're going to keep following Edgar's biography as we also follow through how to start climbing the ladder of understanding that within ourselves. And I do have to say, I want to repeat again, that it wasn't until I got rid of all these concepts of, man, I can't wait until I get out of this school earth plane. I'm done. Or once I let go of that and had to let go of the, man, I hope I get it right, perfectionism. I hope I get it right, selfishness. It wasn't until I got rid of that concept of hopefully I'll get it right that I don't have to come back. Did I open myself up to, well then, hot damn, why start doing the job you're here to do? Start living the way you're supposed to, because it's beautiful, it's fun, it can be great here. It can be all that we want it to be. But we have to let go of those. And the only way to do that is to drop those kind of concepts and open ourselves up to that psychic self. That also knows exactly why you're here. You probably have inklings. Cayce did, until he actually started doing readings. But he didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to feel, but he had a support system. As we move forward, that's going to be a very big life lesson. So, ladies and gentlemen, we went through a million different things today. A million different things. You can look at who in your family did you maybe inherit gifts from. You can look at, because you have to know where you came from to know where you're going, right? You can look at how the family handled it with that individual to kind of also understand why you maybe haven't successfully learned and grown and developed your gifts. It's probably because it came down that you might not, you shouldn't have, right? We're in a different world now. We're in different ways. So not just that, because you do have to look at it going forward. But all of those things, and you can make it very easy. Are you in love or are you in fear? Are you in selfishness or are you in unselfishness? Be the observer. Be the observer. Be the observer. Everything moving forward, be the observer. I'm going to do this card one more time. Number 15, compassion. The frequency of compassion supports our ability to stand by others without judgment and be the divine mediator between heaven and earth, spirit and matter, so that unconditional love can flow from source through our heart and into the world. And a few months ago, that's a beautiful card, guys. A few months ago, as you're looking at this, it threw me off because there was a lot of talk all over the place. It must have just been a conscious wave going through the collective. A lot of people are questioning if there is such a thing as unconditional love. There is. There is. And unfortunately, maybe not enough people have experienced it implicitly, completely, fully. And unconditional love does not mean that we might not say to our partner, our child, or even our parent, a loved one, whatever it may be, friend, it does not mean that we don't go, hey, you might be messing up a little bit. Hey, right? Even though we allow people to do who they are, allow people to live their lives, it doesn't mean that there's not strifes here and there. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get called out, and vice versa. Doesn't mean that there's not arguments or disagreements. Of course there's that. Because as we just learned at the very beginning, when we read all this, they listed off every single limits, limitless. You are smooth. You are rough. You are open. You are closed. You are unity. You are duality. There's all of that happening within and in relation to. But within that, there is definitely and can always be, if you so choose, an observer form. Understand through compassion that unconditional love definitely exists. Always and every time. It's there. So, I love you guys. See, I have unconditional love for you. I love you all. So, whew, that was a doozy. That was a kind of long one. So, these probably will go long. I thank you for being with me. Whew, this will keep going and going. Like I said, everyone, I have a lot of books. And I have the biography alone, doing it in little chunks with all the other books I have. We're going to get through a lot. So go back. If you need to re-listen to it, pause, go, whoa, what did that material say? Or what did Courtney just say? Rock out. Because there's actually a lot of quote-unquote life skills here. So my lovely beings, if you like this, if this is your first time here, please subscribe. Ring my bell, everybody. Put comments below. Tell the world, tell me, because I do read them, what you think of it. So, I will see you all on the flip side. Namaste, beautiful stars.